What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Geek Pantheon. I am Eric, and today we are going to start a brand new series on the channel all around world building. If you're a new GM or an experienced one, but you're looking to build out a new world, or you're planning for a campaign and you want to develop the world that your campaign is set in, this is where you want to be. We're going to go over stuff beyond the introductory methodologies of world building and really get into my methodology and how I break down world building step by step in a way that I think is really fun to go through and fairly comprehensive without wasting time. So over the course of the series, we're going to get into unique locations, NPCs, plots, factions within your world, all that kind of stuff. But we need a place to start. And in my opinion, the best place to start is with the core theme of your world. Far too often when we are plotting out a campaign or building a brand new homebrew world, we start too grand. We start with the pantheon of gods or the various nation states and the geopolitical environment that our world is currently wrapped up in. But that's getting a little bit too far ahead of ourselves when we're first starting out. What I would recommend doing when you're first starting is take a step back and brainstorm. First step, write down movies, books, TV shows, other forms of media that you really want to draw inspiration from for this campaign. My home game that I have right now, the world is very much an age of exploration. It is an ancient island that has ruins everywhere, but nobody's been there for a couple thousand years. And the player characters are some of the first people stepping foot on this island to explore and discover what secrets this island has to hold. So I'm looking at things like Indiana Jones, like The Mummy, those really fun action adventure stories about uncovering ancient secrets. And notice what I said there. In my home game, I'm focused on where in the world the campaign is taking place. All the other stuff, all the other continents, all that kind of stuff going on outside of the scope of the campaign, I have a rough sketch of what's going on out there. So if my players have questions, I can answer them. But I'm focused on where the campaign is going to be because that's what matters. So once I brainstormed and jotted down the various places that I want to pull inspiration from, take a look and notice what themes exist within those works. Narrow your focus down because when you're planning a campaign or building a new world, it's really easy to get excited about all the things that you can accomplish in it. But in my line of work, I work in technology, I work in product, and we have a phrase called an MVP, which stands for minimal viable product. What is the base level that we need to accomplish to have something to present? You should have that mentality when it comes to plotting out your campaign or your homebrew world before a campaign starts. What is the minimum amount of things that you need to have plotted out in order to get started? So narrow your focus. For my game, I wanted exploration to be a big part of the campaign world. Yeah, a lot of my players are excited about social aspects of D and interacting with nobles and courtly engagements and stuff like that. But that's the focus of this world. I have assured them that it will happen. But this game has been going for 7 months now, and the first nobles have just arrived on the island. So we're just starting to get a little bit of that. But my focus was exploration and uncovering hidden secrets that the island has available to it. Additionally, I wanted community to be a big part of my game. So I developed a lot of NPCs to occupy the base of operations that the players are operating out of. And those were the 2 focuses I went with. I didn't include anything else. Age of exploration, having lots of cool things for them to find, and having a strong home base that they can come back to and interact with characters that they actually care about and enjoy talking to. And then the final step is identifying your world's core theme. You've narrowed your focus down, but you still want to focus on what the primary core theme of your world is. So for me, the core theme of my world in my home game is the inherent freedom afforded to those who are on the frontier, going out, discovering new things, but the delicate balance that power affords people when they are on the cutting edge. And a lot of this stuff isn't apparent to the players yet, but it's building, it's simmering in the background, this idea that true freedom that you find when you leave civilization behind can be a double-edged sword. And so I'm really excited about that, but I identified that at the very beginning of my planning process when I was thinking about this world that I wanted to build. So everything I built could come from that place. All of the ruins that they're finding, the nobles that have just arrived on the island, the people that occupy the town they base out of. All of those things are designed around the core theme of freedom in the face of tyranny. And so when you are thinking about your world and building out your world, think about that. What is the core theme at the center of your world or at the center of your campaign, so that you have that as your North Star as you're designing everything else? It can all get drawn back into that funnel and that primary thing that you are building everything around. And then once you have that, then you can move on to establishing your world's present state. What is happening right now in this moment? Session 1, first dice get rolled. What is the current state of the world? Don't focus on the ancient history. Don't focus on the recent history. Don't focus on the pantheon of gods. Don't focus on any of that. What is happening now? And as you build that out, you will see what becomes important. As an example from my home game, this island, the factions vying for dominance on this island are what matters. The pantheon of gods do not matter. I have 0 players playing divine characters, so I spent 0 time working on the pantheon of gods for this world. 1 player, in their backstory, their mom was a cleric of the god of luck. That's the only reference in all of the campaign prep to a pantheon, because it wasn't important to the core theme of my world and the game that my players wanted to engage in. So when you're thinking about the core theme of your world and actually building out the world that you are starting your campaign off in, for me, the double-edged sword of freedom, living civilization behind, made perfect sense to have the island be a thick, dense jungle, because that environment, a lot of natural environments speak to it, but for me, this speaks the most to it. It is very easy to get lost, to lose your way, to be snuck up upon, to run out of resources, to have 1,000 different things go wrong when you're trekking through the jungle away from civilization. So it reinforces that idea that while, yes, you are branching out into the unknown, you are the freest a person has ever been, but there's danger around every corner. Whereas if I wanted to do a world or campaign built more around the inherent isolation of freedom, like, yes, you can break away from civilization, you can be your own person, but it's lonely out there. There is strength in numbers. Then I might go with something more like a desert or a tundra, where you can see the expanse around you and really feel that sense of loneliness as you venture further and further away from what you know into a world that you have no knowledge of and you're truly alone in. See how thinking about these things can reinforce that core theme that you're trying to go with for your world building and campaign design. And then you can also get into the societies and cultures that exist, once again, surrounded by that core theming. What do societies look like in a world where freedom in the face of tyranny is a big deal, is a precious thing? And how would those societies and cultures look differently in a world built around the core theme of the isolating nature of freedom? And then at that point, you can build out the political landscape and the current conflicts going on in your world. But once again, you're trying to build to a snapshot in time at the beginning of your campaign. The history of the world, all that other stuff can come later as your players are engaging with the world and learning more about it. In fact, I have a video where I talk about how you can get your players involved in that kind of world building, which I personally really like and find fun. But if you like to have a bit more control over it, you can. Just know that you don't need to front load with this stuff. This stuff can come later. And if you want to get really crazy with your world building, you should try with your players something called setting roulette, which I have a video on right there.